I'm going to introduce Louay Ali. Louay is a principal product owner and one of the founding team members at Rabbit, a quick commerce company that delivers groceries in 20 minutes or less in Egypt. Prior to Rabbit, Louay worked in multiple startups. He's launched products from 0 to 1, and he also used to work as a professional full-time chef, which is really interesting as a background and career. With that, I'm going to pass over and we'll get things started today.
All right. Hello, everyone, and a special shout out to you, Scott. Thanks for the warm and energetic introduction. I'm so excited to be here today with all of you. Let's dive right in. So today, we'll be talking about prioritization in pre-PMF companies or pre-product market fit companies, how important this is, how your life or how life for you as a PM is different in a pre-PMF stage. We'll go to play a quick myth or fact game, and then we'll switch about frameworks and talk about how the challenges that you may face in your day-to-day lives as a PM in pre-PMF companies, and a personal suggestion on how to win in this very challenging environment. As Scott mentioned, I stopped my PM career, or stopped my better part of my PM career, to be a chef. So I'll just use this example from my good experience as a chef. So prioritization, so just imagine this. You're in front of an oven. There are 6 burners on this oven. You've got only 10 pans, 20 customers in the dining room. They're all waiting. All the burners are on high. The customers are waiting for the plates. The head chef is screaming. The wait staff are starting to hold knives against you. No space for all 10 pans at once. No space for all 20 customers to feed at once. The owner cannot buy a new stove. What to do? It's a wild game. This is exactly how life or how prioritization could be mentioned or could be defined in a pre-PMF company. It's about knowing which features to juggle at the right time, which features to ship at the right time, and which features that you need to know intently and deep down inside that you want to do at the same time. And at the same time, you do not have all the resources in the world. Like I said, the owner cannot buy a new stove. You cannot get any more pans, and you cannot get any other burners than the ones that you have. And you're just stuck with all the resources that you have, but a lot of good ideas. You just need to find the space, and you just need to find the time about which features to say yes and which features to say no. So let's see how pre-PMF is. You see this cool pictures on the right? There are a lot of toys, just like my toddler plays with them. Your life as a PM at this stage is very thrilling, extremely dynamic. You're just trying to make sense of something in order to make it work. You see those toys on the left that I mentioned? You can make a dozen variations of them. You can make just a cavalry of those soldier toys. You can make a circus out of them, or you can make garage of cars or something, or you can make something extremely different from this. Your life at this point is trying to make something out of these. And which feature or which variation of these is going to make you the bucks? Is it the army? Is it the circus? Is it the cavalry? I don't know. If you embrace the chaos at this point, you're going to win. It's game time. It's a myth or fact game. I love this show. So I'm just going to show you a statement. It's either going to be a myth, it's going to be a fact, and we're going to see how it's going to go. And I'm going to unveil whether it's a fact or a myth, and I'm going to talk about every one of them. All right, statement number 1, the hippo or the highest paid person's opinion is always right. Myth or fact? And this is 100% myth. While it's important to consider the opinion of senior executives, they don't always have the full picture of the user needs and the market dynamics. You're a PM, you're the voice of the customer's needs. And the best PMs are the ones who can anticipate those needs and can understand totally those pains. Any hippo or any highest paid person's opinion or any senior executive, they don't necessarily know this. Yes, they're important in this company, but no, they do not know the 360 view of how we run a customer's interview, or how do you understand the fact of those customers' needs and stuff like this. Now let's take it forward to the next one. Prioritization involves trade-offs. Is this a myth or a fact? And I think this is 100% fact. And the reason why I think this, there are always more ideas, like I mentioned, always great ideas, always more opportunities. then the resources that are available at this point, which means tough decisions and trade-offs, are inevitable. You just need to face them. I was just in one of the prioritization meetings that we have every week, and we were thinking, and the CEO just mentioned this statement. He said, what if we had all the resources in the world? What if we have had no issues in any resources, either engineering or material resources like the money? What would we do as a product team? Would we do this feature or the other? Sometimes prioritization is not this easy, but sometimes it is. You're going to face a good day and a bad day, but they're all days at the same time. All right, statement number 3. Prioritization frameworks provide definitive answers. This one's tricky. And this one is 100% myth. The reason I think this is because prioritization frameworks are just tools. They're just like any other thing in the world. They support decision-making, but they do not replace the need for judgment and experience. They're just there to guide you, any framework you're using. And we're gonna dive right in after this game about which frameworks to use and which I think work and which I think do not. But the thing is, they're just guidance. They're not the ones that are gonna tell you, yes, do this, or no, don't do this. You're gonna put a set of input into the framework, and the framework is gonna let you with a set of outputs or one result or something. But is this the only way? Is this the only answer that you want to? Probably not. You just need to look at this as a guidance, not as an absolute Bible that you have to stick to. All right, the next one, stakeholder buy-in is essential. Oh, this one's easy. And this is a fact. Like I mentioned, stakeholders are very important, and product managers need to get the buy-in from various stakeholders for the prioritization decision. But if you don't get the stakeholder buy-in, they're just going to think that you need all the capacity for yourself, which I've faced before, or they're going to think you're just saying no because you want to say no, which I've always also been there, and I'm sure also you've been there. But when you get the buy-in, you're getting much needed support. You're getting much needed help from their teams and from their ideas and stuff like this. So it's always essential to get it in. All right, let's move into the next one. Quantitative data is all you need. And this one's a myth. When I first started in product, I thought this is it. This feature is going to bring me this amount of dollars or this amount of pounds, and it's going to be measured this way and that way. And it was only about quantity. I think the data is vital, but it's not the only factor to consider. Qualitative insights from customer feedback and market trends and stuff like this play a significant role. And as you progress in your PM role, you're going to understand it's also a mix between quantitative data and qualitative data to filter all these great ideas that you want. And there's this gut instinct that you need to put in this blender and just blend everything together. And the result is going to be there. It's not going to be the result of a framework. It's not going to be the result of some stakeholder who is a senior executive. It's only going to be the result of experience and trial and error. All right, another one. A well-structured framework can support effective prioritization. Yes, this is a fact. As long as everybody in your organization is on board and are willing to collaborate to make this happen, you're going to move forward together. Like I mentioned, a well-structured framework is just a tool. But if nobody in your organization is on board and they do not want to move forward, you as a PM are going to be hindered by this. You're going to be stalled or stuck in your position because there's no structured or there's no framework that you need to have for guidance. There's no stakeholder buy-in. And nobody's willing to collaborate. Great PMs are great storytellers. If you are good in what you're doing, if you are a good storyteller and can communicate elaboratively and clearly and have a structured framework and willing with your stakeholders to collaborate together, it's going to create miracles and magic. Next one, product managers solely own prioritization decisions. This one's also tricky. And this one's a myth, 100%, 200%, 300%. Although product managers play a significant role in the prioritization scheme of things or in the organization, prioritization should involve multiple stakeholders from across the organization like sales, marketing, customer support, engineering, everybody. Like I said, you're a storyteller in a circus. Life is chaos. You're just riding a huge, fast roller coaster and just need to make sense out of this. If you own one part of this, you're going to be left alone in this roller coaster, probably afraid, probably sitting there, do not know what's going to happen. But actually, when you collaborate and you think and you actually tell these stakeholders why you're doing this, why are you prioritizing this feature in the beginning of the quarter, why you're leaving this feature at the end of the quarter, and just tell them why this is happening, they're going to understand this. And the more clearly you do this, you're going to get their buy-ins the next times, because trust is built over time. And the last one for today, I think this was easy. User value is central. This is 100% fact. Prioritization should always focus on delivering the most significant value to the users, even if it's not immediately tied to revenue generation. I understand we'll work for revenue. You're not going to buy fruits and vegetables with the amount of likes you're getting on a post or on a feature, but it's all about the features that translate to revenue. So if you don't have your user value at the core of your heart as a PM, we're just basically trying everything. You're not going to make sense of that, because the user are going to find like a new app or a new product or something, and they just have needs and pains, because we're all customers at the end of the day. And if we don't see value in what we're doing, we're just going to move into the next business or the next product who understands our pain points and our values and just addresses them correctly. All right, moving into the frameworks. Personal opinion, do they work? Do they not? Like I said, it's a wild game. What I think is, say two, when I was doing my research for this presentation, I found 20 plus frameworks online. They're different. They're ranging from qualitative frameworks, quantitative frameworks, internal users frameworks, and external customers prioritization frameworks, and everything. But what I've found, there are pros and cons for everyone. There are pros and cons for every framework. And the only key thing, or the only secret takeaway that you can take forward to know which framework could work for your organization, it's just trial. It's your secret weapon. Just Google anything like, what are the frameworks for product management? You're going to find a lot of these, maybe even more than 20. But the most famous ones are MOSCO, which is must, should, could, and want to. Kano model, which is filtering out features, but which is the customer's delighters, which is the features that you need to have for the customer, the must-have features, and the ones that could be like an added benefit for the users. And there's RICE, and I've tried RICE, reach, impact, confidence, and effort. You just bring in the reach, how, like, for instance, how much dollars, or how many dollars is this feature is going to bring? Like, it's going to bring $10,000, 10,000 signups, or 10,000 something it's going to reach. Then this is the impact. You need to find if this is a high impact feature, low impact feature. And then there's the confidence. What is your confidence in this? If you have confidence between 80 and 100% or 90%, this is high. If you have anything 50% or less, I think you need to drop it. And then this is the last thing in this equation is the effort, the tech effort. How much time is this going to take? And there's this great and easy framework to follow, which is value versus efforts. You just bring in the value as a business team or a business team member or a product team member, and there's the effort. And you just divide this by that, and you're going to find a number. When you sort them descending, you're going to find which features to use first, or actually implement first, and which to use next and moving forward. And there's this cost of delay. I love this. When we were starting out Rabbit, we were thinking about cost of delay with Moscow at the same time. So like I mentioned, it's not only one framework, it's just guidance. We're trying to build this company really fast, and we're thinking, what would happen if we delayed this? Can we bear this cost or can we not? And most often in most features, we couldn't bear this delay. So we ranked them down by numbers, and then we took it forward. And this was also another sort of guidance. And this is the one that I love the most. I don't use it much often, but I love it personally. Just buy a feature. I love games. You've seen it. You just get into a meeting room with people, pretend you have virtual money or like Monopoly money or something, give everybody $20 and consider these $20 as your capacity for your sprint. for your squad or for your team, and actually ask them, we have this big of a backlog and you're going to pay money for every feature. So this feature A is going to cost you like $5 and the other one is going to cost you 6 or 8 or 13 or probably 1, I don't know. You're not going to refill the money again. So they have 20 pounds, $20, 20 story points, 20 anything in this quarter. And they just need to highlight, I need this and this. Puts the stakeholders into a corner and they just think prioritization deep at heart with you. All right, the question I get asked the most, what I think is the best product prioritization framework for a pre-product market fit company isn't necessarily a specific established framework. Like I said, at the beginning, we used 2 at the same time for guidance. Until last quarter, we used 1. Now we're using one of our own. I think it often involves a flexible and data-informed and customer-centric approach that aligns with the company's unique context and goals. Pre-PMF companies are agile, flexible, and are fragile at the same time. You need to experiment and iterate quickly, learning from the customer feedback that you're getting and the market responses. You need to typically focus on the target users deeply and solving the most significant problems and the most deeply hard pains that they're facing. And you need to build a minimum viable product that effectively addresses those needs and those pain points, driven by agile, continuous learning process and readjustment. No framework will just tell you the definitive answer like we've had it in our game. What I personally believe in is that you need to strictly adhere to any framework that directly impacts your company and is directly inbound with your company's unique goals and objectives. What are the challenges that you can face as a PM in pre-PMF companies? So let's just take them one by one. Building the right features, and this is like the highlight or the hero thing of what we're talking about today, which is prioritization. Knowing which feature to build at the right time. With limited resources, deciding which features you need to build or which feature that you want to have the most impact on your customers, it's going to be the hardest thing. Because you as a PM at this stage, you have 20 different, 30 different features that have came from you or came from engineering, sales, marketing, any stakeholder. And you just need to think about this. What I advise you is just prioritize it ruthlessly, think about it correctly, and just take it forward with trial and error in an MVP sort of thing. Think about this agile chart that is all over the internet. You start by a skateboard and you just advance to a car. The next one is identifying the target market. You need to understand who the target customers are and what their needs and pain points are. It could be very challenging, especially when the product concept is new or innovative. You're presenting the customers with a new thing, and you just need to identify, is this the right target market for it? Is this the right audience? Is these the right kind of people or type of people that would be using this or not? You just have to rethink and retry and basically give it a try, and you'll know it. For the third one, it's going to be there till the end of time. It's resource constraints. And I think resource constraints are going to be there whether your company is a pre-PMF company that just got like $1 in funding or $100 billion in funding. It doesn't matter. Pre-PMF company typically operate under a tight budget and resource constraints, making it very challenging to deliver on all fronts. So just imagine this. You're trying a different feature. You're trying to satisfy your internal users, your external customers, and you're trying to please everybody. But the thing is, you're not in the business of pleasing everybody. You're in the business of identifying the right target market and eventually finding your product market fit. So when you prioritize ruthlessly and you prioritize correctly with the resource constraints that you have, you're going to shine as a PM. The fourth one is managing stakeholder expectations. This one's is close to my heart. I love getting into a meeting room full of people and just talk to them about how everything's happening. People think, and I hope I'm right, I'm a good storyteller. I know how to bring a joke here or there. I know how to take you and convince you about something that is going to happen. And I know how to tell a good story. The way you can manage stakeholder expectations is just aligning the expectations of these stakeholders, like investors and internal teams, with the reality of the product development process in the early stages. It could be a delicate balancing act. Like I always say, prioritization is an art more than science. product management as a whole is an art more than science. Of course, there's science back behind this, but there's a delicate sense of balancing between stakeholder X or stakeholder Y. We're doing this because of this. And this, when you let them be in your shoe and how things are happening, they understand. And the more they understand, the more they're compassionate towards you and compassionate towards your roadmap. And this is the best way to manage stakeholder expectations. And the last one is going to be an iterative process, which is customer feedback. The challenge at this point is getting meaningful and actionable feedback from customers during the early stages can be challenging, especially if the user base is limited. So you need to think, how can you gather feedback correctly and how not to action every feedback. Now, I'll move forward to the last part of my presentation today, which is personal advice on how to win. Like Scott mentioned, I've been involved in multiple startups and multiple product launches. And these 5 are always the ones that I always use or talk about with my product team, with myself, or with anybody who reaches out for a cup of coffee. So I'll take them one by one. I think you need to deeply understand your market. You must develop a deep understanding of your target customers and needs and continually iterate on your product based on customer feedback. You need to iterate, reiterate, and reiterate. You just need to do or stay in this process over time. You need to try out everything. You don't need to be stuck at a certain point in your product because you're in a journey to find product market fit and you need to understand, will this product work with these customers or not? So if you don't try and have errors and then try again and try again, you're not going to find what works best. The third one, which I love the most, is embracing uncertainty. I've read this, or I've seen this over Instagram. It said, if you embrace chaos, the world is going to be Disneyland. Embracing uncertainty and making data-informed decisions whenever possible and be prepared to pivot as you learn more about your market is the key to how to navigate this. You're in a canoe, you're in a Zodiac boat in the middle of the ocean, and you're riding waves. You don't know what's going to happen next, but you need to understand, you need to trust yourself and embrace how you can quickly navigate this. The fourth one, which is always misunderstood, prioritizing ruthlessly. People think that you're just gonna punch somebody in the face or just put them in a corner in this ring or in the meeting room because they just read the word ruthlessly. No, this is not it. Prioritizing ruthlessly is understanding you and the stakeholder and the whole company that there is this objective or this North Star metric that we're trying to pursue. And anything that is impacting this North Star metric or this objective, yes, this is a big yes, and we're going to take it forward, of course, with correct and actual prioritization. But anything that is deviating you from this metric or from this objective, you need to think ruthlessly and not actually give a thought about it when you're trying to build the right feature. And the last thing for today is just focusing on the value. And I kept it as the last point because you need to understand and dig deep on the value of what you're trying to implement. Remember, your goal as a PM in a pre-PMF company is to identify a product that addresses a substantial need for a specific market segment effectively. And I've reached the end of my presentation. I hope this has been sound advice. I've been doing this for a lot of years now, and it's been working. I'm always improving, always learning, and I'm sure you're always doing the same. So just keep hitting it, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Louay, for sharing your insights today. I will share in the chat here quickly a link to our survey for today's event. If you want to continue the conversation, you can do that in our Slack community. And if you're not a member, feel free to come and join us. And if you do want to speak or become part of one of our events, you can check that out as well at the link that I shared within the chat. We'd love to have you, and always interested in hearing from new people and different folks within our community. Speaking of which, in the community, lots of things going on, events most weeks. We will be taking some time off over the month of August, but have a busy fall coming up. But our programs, like our mentoring program, our roundtables, our book club, and our workshops are all available. And we're also doing a few in-person meetups over the summer as well, so keep an eye out for those. Next week's event is at a later time in the day. We're doing an event for the Australian time zone. So this will be a 2 p.m. Pacific event. So a little bit later in the day, but do check it out. And then we've got a number of different events, again, through the rest of July, and then taking the month of August off. So with that, thanks everybody for joining us. Thank you again, Louay, and we look forward to seeing you all again in the future. Thanks again.